Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. Tonight, we're bringing you a match reaction for Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. And we did a really good preview on it there on Saturday morning, and it was an interesting one as well because it kind of went the way I sort of said in the preview. I was concerned about the physicality of Crystal Palace versus us and what we had shown. But of course, before we get into this match reaction and player ratings, if you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, drop a like on the video, share the content, check out all our socials as well and follow us on there as well, and also check out our audio shows on Spotify, Google Podcasts and Amazon Music. You'll find us wherever you pick up your content. We're here every single day dropping content. This was kind of a real interesting game in terms of the importance of it, and we stressed it in the preview that we had to lay down the marker and put the pressure on, and that's basically what we did, and that's kind of how it wound out when you look at the fixtures for the rest of the day and stuff like that. So an interesting game, certainly a game that will be remembered for Mo Salah chalking up 200 goals and 150 in the league. Outstanding tally from that man. But again, him, like many other players as well, kind of struggling with his game a little bit, not quite on his rhythm. And we will get into, before we get into dissecting the game, we'll talk about the gaffer's comments and stuff like that. Before we do that, of course, we'll go into the comments and we'll take Eno's there already. What's the crack, Niall? All good, Eno. Talk to you shortly. Just going to go into the manager's post-match comments. So let's start with that. So first of all, the gaffer turned around and he started with, he says, on his performance and the outcome, he says, I'm a very happy manager in this moment, but I know we were lucky as well. If you only win your really good games, you have no chance to be really successful. That's how it is. And obviously today was not a really good game from us. For 76 minutes, it was a really bad performance. Very, very true. We did have rhythm changes. Absolutely. And we speak about rhythm so much on the podcast and how important it is. We didn't have any kind of acceleration. We had no timing. So the passing was off. The pace was off. We were off in so many facets of the game. I don't know how often we were offside. Lots. It was horrendous. So that's always a bit of a sign that we are a bit too passive and stuff like this. When one passes the ball and the other is already there in an offside position, it makes no sense. I think in the beginning, Crystal Palace was not extremely high on confidence. It looked a little bit like that. Absolutely. They didn't really go for us. Yep, they were tentative, all right. And I think that's probably how Roy had set them up to sort of suck in and see how it goes kind of thing and play it from there. They were good, but we made it happen for them as well with bad passes and losing the ball in the wrong moment. Absolutely spot on there by the gaffer. He touched on all the key points from the game. Timing, passing, positioning, being passive, and it's kind of been like that. That's the way it has been, and this is not the first time, but it's great to see that he's seen it now and he's talking about it and stuff like that, and that's what we really need to see, you know. But really important stuff out there. I think in terms of those offsides and all, I think he was talking a lot really about Darwin Núñez. A conversation needs to be had there, and you know, harping back to what Fowler said about him, how long does when does rawness become the complete picture, basically, and stuff like that, which is a valid conversation to be had. Still love Darwin, but an important conversation to be had. He said on scoring an injury time winner for the 16th time in the Premier League as a Liverpool manager, it gets more and more easier because we play 115 minutes. We just have much more time. I didn't know that, and I don't even know if it's a great number or not. It's a terrible number, to be honest. I take it, of course. That's actually what we have to do. I love this team, and I'm super positive about it and all the development. But I know we still have to do things better and stuff like this. But it is now fair to say our mentality after 76 minutes is greater than it was before. Our mentality after 76 minutes is better than what it was for 1 to 76 minutes. Then where we? I know it's tough and it's hard, and these boys play an awful lot of football and stuff like this. Sometimes the inner enemy is a bit louder than in other moments. Today I saw a lot of boys struggling with that, and how I said then you can change from outside, from the bench, you can change it, but we should not come into that situation much more often. He's talking about what we have spoke about over a number of weeks, that the players do look somewhat tired. You've seen the drop off at times from Alexis. You've seen the drop off at times from Dominic. big drop off there and stuff like that. We've said it on a number of shows now. Mo looks absolutely banjaxed. The good thing for us is our defence still looks pretty switched on. And I felt for the boy Kwanzaa yesterday, I have to say, because I'm a real big fan of Jarrell Kwanzaa. I think he has a huge future himself, and I think he was really, really unlucky yesterday. On another day, he gets that ball and he clears it. Really, really unlucky, and he learn from it. But he's a super talent. On Salah's 200 goal, I have a slide actually on this, but I'll come back to it later. It's pretty impressive. We carried the shirt already since 2 weeks with us, and now finally we could give it to him. It was pretty much the best moment to score it, to be 100% honest. Incredible number for a super special player. I don't know how often he saved us with a goal he scored in the right moment. It was a pretty loud reception in the dressing room when I gave him the shirt with the 200 on the back. Players were asking for a speech, but you have to ask him if he had one, because I had to go for media work. I don't know if he had one, but it's really special. I'm really happy for him now that it's off the shoulder, because when you have 199, it's probably different to 198. So now you can go and get the next 100. And that's really what we've all been talking about, isn't it? That he was carrying a little bit the weight of getting this 200 goal. And once he got it, we said he's going to kick on from here now and he'll score a bunch of goals. And that's exactly what the gaffer is saying. He's kind of going, it's amazing and it's brilliant and unbelievable for him. And from the sounds of the gaffer here, it's like, thank God it's done. Yeah, absolutely, that's the case. What else had he got to say? On whether his team are now more reliant on the squad overall than a fixed starting 11 compared to previous seasons. He says they're very similar situations. I don't know exactly which was which season, but let me say we started with Fabinho, Henderson, and Wijnaldum, and then we had Milner, then Lallana the year before, then we had Ox, and then we had Naby, and we had up front Shaqiri, Origi, Minamino. That's what you need to make a difference. He's talking here about, like, I think he was a bit bemused by the question, because we've kind of always had a squad, haven't we? At one stage or another and stuff like that. I know we had a kind of a core team there and stuff like that, but there was always some player coming in and out somewhere or another. You know, I mean, we've always had to make changes. We're not one of those things where we just strictly played an 11. You know, so interesting from. And whether he has an ideal system for his team, he says that makes no sense. If I think about that, because we just have to work with the players we have available. I mean, now physically available, who was here and who was there, and what can we do? We can play with these boys in different systems. There's no shadow of a doubt. But in this moment, if you bring, for example, all our 4 real offensive players or strikers, it's possible to play together. Or if we have very young players to bring on, that's why we have to think about a lot of things before the game. We came through this week, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, 12:30. It was really tough, really tricky, but all good. Spot on there. Absolutely spot on from the gaffer. Start of words from the gaffer. I like what I'm hearing from him. I think he's very attuned with what's going on at the moment. I think he can see it as well. I think he probably recognised the fact that if we do really want to lay down the title charge, I think it's going to be really, really important what happens in January. Obviously, Salah going off, a lot of things to be considered there, but I do really think we'll have to go into the market and strengthen in a couple of key areas. Not a huge amount, you know, some stuff to do in defence and stuff like that. And then let's see where it takes us. And what we're going to do when Salah's gone. What's the plan for Salah heading off to the AFCON? So I'm hoping, hopefully, not, it's a bit early now to be asking, but I'm hoping in the next number of weeks, maybe once we get up into the Christmas period and stuff like that, maybe one of the journalists will have a conversation about that and ask, like, what is the plan for Mo Salah? Don't forget, folks, we're live on Facebook and X as well as YouTube. So don't forget to be following us on all our socials there. Let's take some of the comments. Nigel, my main man, how are you, my friend? We gave them momentum and nearly paid for it. We certainly did. Henry, what is the crack? How are you, my friend? Big up, Richie. Hi, Nigel. Can't stay. Gotta go live at 8:30. Have a great show, Henry. Make sure, folks, you're subscribing to the channels as well and supporting them. Hi, Henry, says Nigel. Yeah, I think it was one of those. I think you're spot on there, Nigel. We absolutely, and it was mainly midfield. And it's hard to kind of put a sort of put your finger on it at the moment, but you have Endo there who was kind of physically bullied out of the game. You had Dominic, who was in waves trying to go forward and create things, but left us a little bit open. And then you had Gravenberch, who really just didn't get into the game. And that's a couple of games now he's struggled, which is a little bit concerning. Just a little bit concerning, I have to say. But yeah, I think those were the main things. The main things, I think a lot of the pressure that we felt in our defence and stuff like that really was brought upon by ourselves because of our midfield and stuff like that. Trent at times really didn't get the opportunity to invert in. So once we made the changes and Joe came on and we were able to invert Trent in there, we looked a bit better in our attacking and stuff like that. The penalty, like I said, was an unfortunate one. We also got away with one earlier. Endo was definitely fouled in the build up to that. So it was a great call by VAR. We have to give VAR its props when it's there, of course. As we said as well, going there, we did say in the preview, it's a tough place to go. We were playing them for what we thought was at the right time. They were on a bad run of form, but we did say in the preview, the important thing to remember as well is they'll always up their game when a top 4 team arrives there. The crowd was boisterous. They were up for it. Not an easy place to go and stuff like that, regardless of results before it. My partner off the Thursday tier is in the chat. How are you, Darren? Good to see you, my friend. Hope everything's good. Sellers Park isn't an easy place to go. Getting out there with 3 points is all you want. Performance isn't overly important yet, and that's what we said. And if you listened to Harvey's post-match comments were what we've been talking about for the last 2 previews. All about the points at the moment, not necessarily about the performance. But what I did said now is when we go into this week now, multiple changes coming on Thursday. That team will be unrecognisable, I would imagine. And then we have the big one at United at the weekend and then Arsenal the following weekend. And that's when you have to switch. Although the 3 points are so important, with those games, it has to be about performance as well, because that's the only way you'll get the points out of those games. Too much passing, let them close us down. The VAR penalty, a good example. They did that well. They did indeed, Nigel, absolutely. And I think, as he said, our passing was a bit passive. And it was a bit short as well at times, wasn't it? Some of the passing was just hospital passing at times and stuff like that, where we want to zip the ball around. And I know it's not easy to zip the ball around on a pitch like Selhurst Park either and stuff like that. But we were so slow. We were so slow in transition. I'm still trying to figure out the conundrum there, the Costas Luis Diaz conundrum. Luis Diaz again wanting to cut in and put himself into trouble a number of times as well. Didn't see him going around the outside as much as I had wanted in the previous game. Kind of reverted back to form, if you like, which really put us under a little pressure, but didn't feed us enough in there. And I think at times as well when we attacked, we didn't attack with numbers as well. So there was balls going into the box and there wasn't really people there to take advantage of it. I still think with the size of the defence that we have and stuff like that, I still think we should have a lot more coming back off us from the likes of corners and the likes of set pieces going into the box with big lads in there, but unfortunately didn't happen. And we know how physical, we mentioned it on Saturday morning, Crystal Palace, how physical they are. It was going to present a very different game than Sheffield United and Fulham, but very happy to get out of there with the 3 points. What's up, my man, Jack? How are you? Henry, stop made false accusations about saying I threatened you. If you mate. Okay, that's between you and Henry. That's nothing to do with me. And if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be happy to see Mo come back to form with a goal and an assist. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I mean, such an important goal as well. When you're chasing that number, there's a bit of an anxiety that runs through you to get it there. Most people think she's just going to rock up and get it. But when you go a couple of weeks and it's not coming, it starts getting into your mind a little bit and stuff like that. So delighted for it and delighted he got it, and it's sensational for him. So that's what happened there. I suppose we just need to talk about Mo, don't we? 200 goals, and I reflected today. I went back and I looked at a video today, looking at some of the goals, and just absolutely sensational. I did have another slide, but I didn't bring it in, which breaks down his left foot and his right foot and headers and all that kind of stuff and all. So cool and stuff like that, but absolutely chuffed for him to get 200 goals and 150 league goals as well. Darren, if you're still in the chat, you're going to love this one. Player of the match, or what we know as man of the match, of course. Unbelievable. Alisson Becker again, only back out of injury. And brushing off that injury fairly quick. I think he was gone for, was it 10, 12 days or something like that? And he's back And boy, God, did he make a difference yesterday. He was absolutely man of the match. Some of those saves were absolutely sensational. He is without a doubt the best keeper on the planet. And I tell you one thing, it's really so important. If you want to be a really top team competing at all levels for silverware and stuff like that, you must have a top class goalkeeper between the sticks, because those 3 points yesterday were certainly down to him. And it's no disrespect to Queevin, because Queevin is a great number two who goes in there when he has to fill in for Allison and stuff like that. But Allison Becker between the sticks is just different gravy. Absolutely. Jack is in. My sister's boyfriend has an Everton season ticket, and he went today, and he said to Chelsea, were good. Yeah, from what I heard, Chelsea had a really good first half, created plenty of chances, had loads of possession, but the same thing that's been happened to them all season, they cannot finish their dinner. They do not have a goal scorer. Really struggling. And then Everton take advantage of that. And great. I mean, unbelievable to see Everton out of the bottom three, putting space between themselves on the bottom three, even with that 10-point deduction. And look, we don't want the Merseyside derby to go away. So, from my point of view, all good. The phenomenal one, Darren McCunsky, how are you doing? There's a premiere on Liverpool YouTube channel, and it's all about Salah's 200 goals. Yeah, absolutely sensational. How much more can we say about Mo Salah and stuff like that? So, just really phenomenal. I meant Chelsea fans, bro, but it didn't let me type it. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. But I heard Chelsea were really good first half as well, Jack. But look, there's no doubt about the Chelsea support for their team and stuff like that and all. You know, they're just going through horrible situation at the moment. The takeover just seems strange. Poch as an appointment seems strange. Their strategy in the summer with buying younger players and stuff like that, and this age barring and stuff like that took them out of the Madison conversation and stuff like that, just seems weird. And Ward Prowse and all that and stuff. They're players they should have been gone for. Chelsea should have been gone for Madison. They should have been gone for Ward Prowse. They should have been gone for players like that. Said they went out and they bought a bunch of kids, let's say, and now they're kind of paying the price for it. But again, let's get back to our match, which is most important, which puts us top of the league at the moment. But Alisson Becker, yeah, absolutely sensational. Great to have him back. No doubt he'll be rested on Thursday, but he'll be back, no doubt, for the United game, which is going to be class. Like what we spoke about earlier with Mo, incredible number, as Jurgen spoke about Mo. We said it earlier, incredible number for a super special player. I don't know how often he saved us with a goal he scored in the right moment. So huge praise from the gaffer. And of course, we mentioned earlier, he didn't get to see whether he did a speech or not. Don't know whether Mo would do a speech or not. What do you reckon? Do you reckon Mo did a speech in the dressing room after getting the 200 jersey? I don't know. I don't think he's that type of guy. He's very humble. Sometimes when he picks up these goal trophies and man of the match trophies and all this kind of stuff, he's nearly embarrassed taking them, you know. It's just such a humble guy who loves his football and all, you know. And so it's going to be a sad day today we lose him, that's for sure. Let's talk about Roy Hodgson. Had plenty to say after the game as well. He turned around. He was discussing the situation that Jordan Ayew sent off. Of course, Mateta with the penalty on 57, Salah on 76, and Elliott on 90+1. And what a goal from Harvey Elliott, coming on like an absolute buzzsaw onto the pitch, as he does when he comes on as a sub. He just brings a bit of energy and lifts the team. But a lovely little cut in past two players, and what a finish into the right hand side of the goal. Was absolutely sensational to win it for us. And then we had to ride out our luck a couple of times with a number of corners and stuff like that. But Roy wasn't happy after the game. He says Roy wasn't happy with Virgil van Dijk today. Van Dijk took the opportunity to get him the first yellow card, which was very disappointing. Don't understand what he means by that. I think he was well within his rights to try and win that yellow card. If Ayew doesn't want to back off on the free kick, why wouldn't you do it? Any player would do that. So you're a bit naive, Roy Hodgson, if you think that that's not what happens in the game. The second one I thought was a good challenge. Even if it was deemed a foul, it wasn't a yellow. I've been in football a long time. Games like today make me realise when I come to leave it behind, I won't be missing it. Yeah, you will miss it. That's why you left it and you came back. So that's absolute nonsense. But the truth is, we were on the attack, and he did tackle, he did take him down, and he stopped a counter attack. Now, I think it's harsh. I think it's harsh, but I see why they're given, and they're given all the time. If you break up a counter attack, and like I said before, we've gotten away with it a few times. We've got away with it with Kanate in a match. We've gotten it away with a few times now with Endo as well. So I feel for Hodgson in this case as well, and I do think the sending off greatly changed the game as well. Um, but you can't be coming out like that moaning about the first yellow card where your player is standing in front of us trying to take a free kick. What are you expecting Virgil van Dijk to do? Not take advantage of a situation. Bit naive there from you, Roy. You're long enough in the game now to know how it operates. Uh, Mo Salah just a boss. Yeah, not more Mohamed Salah. So when we look at the table, this is what the table looks like before we get into the ratings. Top fella in the game, yeah, absolutely, 100%. More Salah, maybe that's his brother. We could sign him. That'd be class. That's what our table looks like now at the moment. Really, really good reading. Um, Kind of how we thought it might go. A lot of people thought that Villa might get the job done against Arsenal, and they did. City obviously winning today against Luton, making hard work of it as well. Luton looking really good at the moment, and Luton coming off the pitch disappointed to lose to Man City 2-1. Obviously they were missing Holland today. Grealish got the winner. I don't know what the defender was thinking for the goal. Bernardo Silva with a cracking goal as well. After Luton had taken the lead. So Luton again disappointed with the result, losing 2-1 to Man City at home. They are, without getting the results, they're kind of creating a little bit of a fortress there, aren't they? Just can't get the results on it and stuff like that. But you got to feel for Luton at the minute. Tottenham with a big win. Eddie Howe with plenty to think about. 5 games on the bounce, I read, without players being changed. Hence the difficulty with the injuries that he has at the moment, but starting to drop away. Now 11 points off the top, which is quite a sizable gap from when you think about where Newcastle were. United a point ahead of them, a difficult game against Bournemouth. Really, really poor on all levels. But again, don't forget to join us tomorrow night, folks. 9 o'clock the Monday mashup. Marky will be on, and we'll be going through all the week's ends action, especially getting his thoughts on the Bournemouth performance. He was on to me on WhatsApp, absolutely shocking. West Ham today really poor, got beaten by Fulham. Starting to drop off as well, starting to feel the effects of things. Brighton as well, struggling somewhat as well. The Serbi struggling to find the form that he originally had. But that really kind of sums it up. Villa and Emery, unbelievable. And I think we're the Super Sunday next week as well. So we're basically the last game of the weekend against Man United. So everyone else will have played, and potentially Arsenal and Villa may overtake us in that process. So we could find ourselves going into the United game sitting in third potentially. But let's see what happens. But really looking forward to that game. We will do a preview for that game. Probably Friday, I'd say, either Friday or Saturday. But of course, Thursday I'll be here with Darren, who's in the chat. Thursday Tier Talk, 9 o'clock as well. We'll be here and we'll be dissecting down all the games. We'll also be talking about the fallout from the European situation, because at that stage we will know where United and Newcastle and City and these teams and Newcastle, where they will be, and Arsenal, of course, in the Champions League. We know Arsenal are there. We know City are there. So it's really Newcastle and United that needs to be decided. So we'll see how that all pans out. And that will give us a feel for how teams are going to be going into the weekend then at that stage. But certainly really good reading on the Premier League table at the moment if you're a red. Certainly in the driving position now. Putting points on the board without the performance, but that's what happens. Right, let's get into player ratings. Let me know your player ratings, folks, if you're in the chat. We're going to start with, of course, Alisson Becker, who's absolutely goalkeeping and Liverpool royalty. Some really good saves in this. The save from Lerma was unbelievable, and those saves at the death were incredible as well. So Alisson Becker is getting a 9. And again, if you watch the game, let us know your ratings. What did you think? Trent, not really, poor in the first half and somewhat in the second half as well till the changes were made. I'm going to give him a 7. Still working hard and still tracking back and stuff like that and all, but we want him to be a bit more effective going forward and stuff like that. And it was just, there was a lot of side-to-side passing and a lot of slow movement and stuff like that and all. So Could do a lot better. Yeah, you're going with Trent with a 7.5, 9 for Ali, Nigel. Yeah, absolutely. 7.5 for Trent. Yeah, you're thinking like me. I don't do Nigel. You could do the point fives. I don't do the point fives. Jarrell Kwanzaa, what did you think of Jarrell? Very unlucky for the penalty. Up till that wasn't too bad at all. Quite composed, I thought. I'm a big fan of Kwanzaa's. I still do think we need to do stuff with Matip, obviously gone for the season and stuff like that. He was really unlucky to concede the penalty, I think. But I thought he had a good outing, and I'm not worried about him at the back at all. I think he's quite composed. But I do like Kwanzaa. Van Dijk. Um, Van Dijk, I'm going to give a 9 to. I thought Virgil was excellent yesterday. I thought his reading of the game was excellent. I lost count on the amount of headers that he won in key positions when Crystal Palace were moving forward, defensive headers and stuff like that. He was a threat from set pieces. A really, really good showing from Virgil again. Yes, I really liking this kind of back to himself somewhat, Virgil van Dijk, really clever in the way, even when, who was it? Was it Will Hughes who came in to have a shot and he showed him onto the other side and stuff like that as well. I thought it was really, really clever. And that's what we're looking from Virgil, Jarrell gets a 7, yeah, not too bad. Nigel, he got a 6 on here from what I'm looking at. So, but yeah, 7, no problem with that at all. Unlucky for the penalty, I think. Ali gets Bonkers is in. Ali gets a 9, absolutely. Trent 7.3. Kwanzaa gets a 6, and Virgil gets a 9. Yeah, that's in around what we're thinking here. Nigel's going 8.5 for Virgil. Yeah, absolutely, which is tops. And Ian's saying, what's the story, Daz? Oh, good. Let's see, where are we going then? Costas. What did you make of Costas, lads? I think he's getting a 6. I think he was okay. But he wasn't doing a whole lot going forward. And I'm still looking for that. I can't find that rhythm between him. I know Gravenberch wasn't really in the game and stuff like that. So that kind of negates that side a little bit. So, but there was no that I find with Costas and I find with Luis Diaz, instead of moving as a unit going forward, they seem to run towards each other. It's a kind of a weird one, isn't it, with Costas? And then it kind of, because they're running towards each other, they're forcing each other to go inside instead of on the outside. And I just noticed it a couple of times yesterday as well, that it's just that sometimes it looks as if they've never played together. It's weird. Like, it's just, I don't know how you can I can't put my finger on it, but it just seems weird at times. What's the story does, yeah. And then Nigel's in. Costas with a 7. You go 7, Nigel, yeah. I'm thinking 6, a little bit generous for Costas. Endo, sure to generate conversation. What do you reckon on Endo, boys? I don't know. He seems always available. He seems to cover a lot of ground, not just in that middle area. He's left, he's right, he's moving all the time. But for a 6 against a real physical Crystal Palace, we kind of lost that midfield a bit, didn't we? We really lost that midfield. And I thought, Endo, we just got a bit bullied out of the game at times, Cost us with a 7. Bonkers is going to cost us with a 5.5. Keep on getting the ball and passing it back most of the time. Yeah, he's not. And I think a lot of that as well, Bonkers. I think, what do you think? Is it the disjointment of that rhythm with Luis Diaz? Like, the way when Robbo had that sort of synergy with Mane, and I know it takes time to build up and stuff like that, but he knew what Mane was going to do. He knew when to go inside. He knew when to overlap. He knew when to do all these things. I don't know how often we see Kostas Tsimikas overlapping Luis Diaz. I know a couple of times he does it, and I think Luis Diaz uses it as a decoy run instead of a legit run. And I think that can be really frustrating for a left back as well. If you're not going to get the ball some of the times that you do it, it can't always be a decoy run to cut back in. Just my view on it, but I think, yeah, spot on. Endo gets a 5, tries hard, but their pressing had him under pressure. Yeah, I think, and it wasn't helped as well with Dominic and Gravenberch as well. In fairness to Endo, he was quite isolated in there at times, similar to what United are talking at the moment with Bruno being all over the place and Scott being all over the place. So Amrabat gets a little bit isolated. I think this is the same thing. I think yesterday, I think Endo got a little bit isolated and he was overrun by the strength of Crystal Palace. Gravenberch was never really in the game. And I think, Dominic still had a little bit of a drop off. We've seen a slight improvement in the previous game, but this game it was kind of treaded back again, So let me know your thoughts on that as well. Troy's hard, but pressing them under pressure. Yeah, absolutely. Bonkers. Endo 6.5, try it hard. Yeah, I think it's hard to rate it really as well, isn't it? Because if you look at the three midfielders, I mean, Dom got a 5. On this, Endo got a 5, Dom got a 5, and Gravenberch got a 5. So the three of them got a 5. So as a unit, that midfield is so important, especially when you're playing a 6, has to play as a unit. It can't get fragmented. And I find sometimes with Dominic, he goes forward, and where we see him brilliantly going forward and stuff like that at times, I think sometimes he doesn't come back when he should and stuff like that. And normally he's full of energy and full of running and stuff like that. But I just think there's a genuine tiredness in him now in trying to cope with the level that he has set, the bar that he set in the first 10, 12 games in the Premier League. He's struggling to hit that bar again now. And it could be just tiredness as well. Obviously not having Stefan and not having Thiago and, not having a number of these players, obviously Alexis yesterday as well, it's hard, Harvey seems to be the choice for the sub as opposed to the start. But maybe it's time that maybe Harvey should be the starter and maybe Dominic might need a rest or something like that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on it. Yeah, but the three boys, let us know on the three boys what you thought, folks, as well. Dominic and Ryan Gravenberch. Both of them getting 5s, I think, with Endo, to be honest. Mo Salah, let me know what you were rating Mo Salah at, folks. 200 goals, 150 league goals. He's outstanding, but I do think there has been a drop off in the last number of weeks. He just looks tired, and I don't know whether I'm still trying to figure out, is it just the number of games he plays? I mean, he's been playing the Europa League and stuff like that because of some of the results and stuff like that. We've had to put some of the big boys in there. He's come on in the Europa League. He's made the journey. He's done the traveling. So he's involved in a lot of stuff, Yeah, spot on, bonkers. 5 and a 5 for both of them, yeah. And to be honest with you, I looked at Gravenberch yesterday and I thought even a 5 was a little bit generous, to be honest. I don't think he didn't even get in. I didn't see him even getting in any real decent tackles and stuff like that. I thought that was a real struggle for him. So, but yeah, 5s will go with anyway. John's in. How are you, John? Gomez 7.5 came on and gave us a spark, and Elliott 8. He is becoming a very good little player. Yeah, he is. He's becoming like super sub, isn't he? He comes on when the team seems tired and out of ideas. Klopp launches him, and he suddenly comes on, and he builds that energy and shares that energy with the players around him and stuff like that and all. And he comes on and he kind of demands a upping of the performance out of the players and stuff like that. And we've been quite questionable about Harvey on the podcast at times in terms of there's still a question mark at times over his physicality. Now, not as the Zoyer, he'll get stuck into anyone at any time, regardless of size. We've seen it. But he has been cropping up with a number of really important goals and really important assists. But really, really important to really important as a squad player and stuff like that. But I get the feeling with him as well, not necessarily happy to be a squad player. But yeah, we love Harvey. You have to love Harvey. Absolutely outstanding. Joe has been unbelievable at times this season when he's come in. Really came in yesterday to release Trent in there to go do his thing with a level of confidence that Trent didn't necessarily have to focus on what was going on behind or what potentially was going on attacking. Joe at times was really, really good. And I think Joe is starting to find, I think with getting minutes now and stuff like that, he's starting to feel more a part of the team. We used to speak about this back in the Origi days where we were bringing Origi on and it was sensational about what he was doing because he never really felt a part of the team or, he never really got the minutes that he should. At times, The gaffer didn't even bring him on, even when we were home and hose and stuff like that, to make him feel part of that squad. I think Joe is now starting to feel part of that squad, and he's starting to answer some of the questions. And so long as he can stay fit and everything else, I think it's really good for the season coming. It's going to be really, really important. Bonkers coming in. Salah 6 got his 200 goal. A 6. You went that low. I didn't go that low for Mo. I can't go that low for Mo. I know he didn't have a huge impact on the game up until the goal in the 76th minute, but that's his game, isn't it? At times, his game at times is that he just comes up in clutch moments when we need it. And remember, most of the team didn't perform yesterday. So it's very difficult for him to just be that guy, and especially at times when he's out wide, having to beat so many players to put himself in those positions. But I think at times yesterday, and I can see somewhat where the 6 is coming from, Bonkers. At times yesterday, giving up the ball soft, trying to dribble past players and he couldn't do it, losing the ball, and then getting frustrated as well. But I think once the goal went in, we've seen a different Mo Salah. The 200 goal was secured, the 150th league goal, and he was a very, very different player then. But yeah, they have 7 on here. Very not involved in the first half and stuff like that and all. What do you think, guys, of Darwin? Give me a rating for Darwin. What are you thinking on Darwin Núñez yesterday? A lot of offsides. Just didn't seem focused on the job in hand. And like, it's weird when you look at Darwin with offsides as well, because he doesn't need that head start. He has the pace, so he doesn't need it. He'd well outpace those defenders, no problem, but just kept on getting caught offside. I think that kind of led to a lot of frustration. I think he got pulled out of central areas a lot as well. So where we want him operating is inside that 18-yard box, the perimeter of that when he's playing, not outside of that. And I think that's really, really important as well. But I think for Darwin yesterday, a bad day at the office. Probably got the lowest rating of the day. Probably somewhere between a 4 and a 5, I would imagine. And although we love him creating chaos, and although we love him, some of those other things he does, and he always has a smile on his face, and, kiss the badge, and he's Liverpool through and through in terms of what he wants to do and stuff like that. You got to start putting some goals in the back of the net as well at some stage. And it's a conversation as well. Like, it's kind of different when you think about Bobby, when Bobby was in that role as well, because with Bobby at times, Bobby could put the ball in the back of the net, but at times Bobby was clever enough to make the right decision to slip it to Mo or slip it to Mane or whatever it was. He was so unselfish in that position. Darwin's not about necessarily being unselfish. It's about he's just not missing. He's missing a bit of confidence. It is, and he just needs to bang in 1 or 2, and then he'll be off to the races again. Similar to Mo getting the 200 goal done, But yeah, we'll see what happens. And again, it's going to be really, really important with Mo going after the AFCON. So important. Bonkers giving him a 5. John's in. Núñez 4. Will he ever produce his Uruguayan form? It's mad, isn't it? It's mad to think about it, And he's probably, the funny thing about it, he's probably playing in a better team than the Uruguayan squad at times. If you think about the chances we produce from him and stuff like that, and some of them are sitters, and he just hasn't put them away, you know what I mean? And then it doesn't help that kind of internally in the club, you Fowler turning around going, when does rawness go away after 18 months and become a thing and all this kind of thing? And I just think he needs a little bit. Darwin's one of those guys that he's kind of an emotional guy. Sometimes he needs an arm around the shoulder and stuff like that, and Klopp recognised that. But sometimes you have to say it as well. Sometimes you say, would you just put the ball in the back of the net? So it's really, really important from that point of view. Luis Diaz, lads, what do you think of Luis Diaz yesterday as well? We will get into chat. We'll chat about it. John, I'll come back to that once we finish the ratings, right? We'll have a chat about January signings. What do we think we want to come in and stuff like that? So if you're in the chat, have a think about that and let me know what you think. What would you like to see come in? Don't necessarily need to know players' names, but what positions would you like to see more players coming in and stuff like that? We really need to do. I'm convinced that the team that does the best business in January is the team that's going to go on and win the league. 100%. So we have to do this and get it done. Really, really important. Luis Diaz, lads, what did you think of Luis Diaz from a rating point of view? Again, must be so frustrating playing with Luis Diaz. He has all the talent in the world, but just a repetition of cutting inside all the time, and the lack of link-up play and synergy between him and Costas, or even him and Gravenberch, there's just something missing there. And he just, when he runs with the ball, he can get into certain positions, stuff like that. Doesn't necessarily want to pull the trigger. Really, really poor. And he wants to run. You would expect when he cuts in and the way he dribbles and stuff like that, he's doing it to open up space. And he just runs into a crowded space. It's like as if him and Costas are coming together. You've got Darwin feeding over. You might have Gravenberch running in there. Before you know, these four guys are all on top of each other and there's nowhere to operate. How many times yesterday did we pick up the ball on the edge of the box? No one wants to pull the trigger and we're nearly tackling each other. It's crazy. We just void of any structure, of any formation and all that kind of stuff. We should be more aware of those things, opening up the space, drawing players away and stuff like that. It's so weird to me that we just haven't figured that out. John is in. Luis Diaz 4, very poor in my opinion. Yeah, he's really, really struggling. Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's all this talk from the dad about Barcelona and all that kind of thing. I wonder is that talk at the moment, is it feeding through and derailing it a little bit and stuff like that? But he hasn't been anywhere near the Luis Diaz that we expect. He's been well off it. So yeah, something gotta try to figure that out. It's such an important position for us. As we said earlier, Joe got a 7. Came on for Endo. Picked up a 7, did really well, allowed Trent in the midfield to do his thing and all, overlapped the pace and stuff like that and all. Kanate came on. You'd be worried a little bit about Kanate as well, lads, wouldn't you? What did you think? I gave Diaz a 6, inconsistent. Yeah, I just think, I don't know, Bonkers, what do you think? Did he produce enough to be a 6? Like a 6 is what we call average on this, So was he even average yesterday? I don't think he was even average. I think he was below par. Like, if you think about it, did Luis Diaz have a better game than Gravenberch or Dominic Szoboszlai? I don't think he did. I think, if anything, I think he had a worse game. So I don't know whether I could give him a 6 or not. But let's see what happens. Lots to be worked out there. It's just a bit disjointed at the moment. Like I said, Joe got a 7. Ibrahima Kanate gets a 6. Again, it's just at times, I don't know, he's the opposite of Van Dijk, isn't he? At times, he used to be so laid back and solid and strong. And I don't know, since the injuries or what it is, his positioning just seems at times to be all over the place. Cody came on for Ryan Gravenberch on 57, gets a 7 for me. Did well to get the cross in and create the equaliser, of course. But again, with Cody, a lot of players yesterday just seemed to be all over the place and not where they're supposed to be on the pitch. And I don't know whether that was the good work of Palace or the anxiety of us trying to get the job done, knowing that top of the table was on the cards. Curtis came on for Dominic on 74. I gave Curtis a 7, just a little bit of energy there and stuff like that. Good to see Curtis back in there, of course. And then, of course, Harvey Elliott came on for Nunez on 74. And we gave Harvey a 9. I think it was a real good showing from him yesterday. Konate got a 5. He is rash sometimes in the tackle. Yeah, and also do you find, John, as well, his handling of people. He manhandles people. And I think at times that's going to give away in the season either penalties or set piece opportunities around our box. I just think he needs to get a bit more tidier in his defensive work. I think sometimes it's because he finds himself out of position or his body position isn't right. When you look at Van Dijk is the king of that at times. Body position, where he should be, does his homework on the player so he knows your good foot and your bad foot and what way to move you. He channels you a certain way, knowing that and stuff like that. I'm not sure whether Kanate does the same homework. And I find with Kanate, when the ball comes in, there's an anxiety about it. His body language is a little bit off. And he's a big guy as well, so it's not easy for him to slip and move. He's not as slick as Van Dijk in his movement and stuff like that and all. So he has to work hard on it. But I just think at times, yeah, even when, sometimes he brings the ball out, and we like to see him bring the ball out like that because he's quite confident. Sometimes he brings the ball out and he kicks the ball too far and the opposition come onto him, and then there's there's an urgency about it, and how ball has to be kicked out or misplaced or whatever it is. I just think he needs to be a little bit clever in the way he does that. Yeah, 5 for Canate. Yeah, rash sometimes in the tackle. That is for sure. I think that's it, isn't it? What did you just give Harvey, lads? Round out with Harvey there, of course. He got the winner for us. Always great enthusiasm and stuff like that. And there's always a kind of an excitement when he's coming on and stuff like that. So, and I liked about him yesterday as well. I think yesterday there was a kind of a structure to his build-up play and stuff like that. He was a bit more careful in possession. He wasn't as loose as he was. If you've seen a couple of games back when he was playing, he was giving up the ball. He was kind of loose in his control. His passing wasn't what it should be. He's tightened it up so much, you know. So not too bad. Gomez gets a 7, Konate 5, Cody gets a 5, Harvey gets an 8, and Jones gets a 6. Yeah, not too bad, bonkers. Pretty good. Not too far off a point here or there and stuff like that. But yeah, a little bit worrying, of course, on defence. Give him a chance. Nobody's perfect. I'll give Lou Diaz an 8. Whoever Lou Diaz is. Right, let's get on to the conversation about that John asked us. Who do we think are the signings that we need to bring in? Who would we be targeting in the January window? I'm sure they're already doing their work on it as we speak. Who are you thinking we need to bring in? Give me an idea in the chat, folks. Who do you want to bring in? Where are we a little bit exposed? What do you expect the gaffer to do with Mo going off to the AFCON, which is probably the most worrying thing on the horizon? Losing Mo and his, goal and assist output and all that kind of stuff. What is your thinking on that? I think we definitely have to have a conversation about either a left back or a left-sided central defender who can play left back, left-footed. Let us know your thoughts on that. Is that who you would like to bring in? I think we still have to figure out what we want to do on the 6. I don't see us keeping Alexis McAllister happy if we continue to play him in the 6. I think we have to play him in the 8. We've seen when we put him in the 8 what he can do for us. I think in the 6, I think we negate the reason why we brought him in, which was to be more creative going forward. So I think that has to be figured out. I still think Endo has a part to play in the 6 role, but more in kind of squad, more so than starting. So I still think we need to go out there and get either a proper 6 or decide what our strategy is. When the gaffer talks about it and stuff like that, he doesn't necessarily like to talk in terms of the numbers and stuff like that, and the positional numbers and all that kind of thing. But you kind of find yourself then at times, if you're not going to play Endo, then you're playing kind of 3/8s, aren't you? And it's like, it just sometimes can be a little bit open. And even when Alexis is in there, we've seen it at times our midfield has been a little bit overrun because Alexis goes in there to play as the 6. It's nearly like a hybrid 7, if you like, because he wants to be an 8. And when we're pushing forward so much and we do attack a lot, he joins that attack a lot. And then negates his role in the 6 and stuff like that. Kind of nearly as a brain fart, forgets he's actually playing the 6 and thinks he's playing an 8. And that's at times where our midfield's a little wide open, and that's why at times teams get the run on of us into our back 4 and stuff like that, hence coughing up potential opportunities and stuff like that. So I think we really need to think about that from that point of view. So obviously they're the key positions. We also need to figure out who we're going to get back. Is Thiago going to come back, or what's happening there? Stefan, no doubt, will be back. But I don't think as well, I get a little bit concerned as well when we don't go into the market because of some of the talk at times about, we don't want to potentially stop the opportunity of a player developing and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that should be the mentality that we go in with. I think if we recognise and we identify we need to bring players in within the system, we should bring them in. And then it's up to Stefan or Harvey or whoever it is to show in training and when they get their opportunities, which they will, especially with the amount of games we play every season, to break through and make that opportunity for themselves. I say it all the time at left back. If you look at Costas in there at the moment, Robbo's going to be out for about 12, 16 weeks, whatever it is. So Costas is going to be in there. He's going to be given an opportunity. he's not grabbing that opportunity with both hands and giving the gaffer to think that when Robbo comes back, Robbo has to sit down on the bench and Costas now owns the position. And that's what you're really trying to do. I think if Robbo was fit on Saturday or Sunday, whenever we're playing United, I think Robbo will be straight back into the team and Costas will be out. And I think that's a real problem. And I think that's why I think that left back position or left of centre is where we need to be thinking about. John is in left-footed centre back and a defensive midfielder would be nice. I hope FSG will give Klopp the funds he deserves to compete for the title. Yeah. Look, the last thing we want, and John, you know, you've experienced it just like me and every other Red. The last thing we want to do is be sitting here in May and losing the league by a point or 2 points or 3 points because we gave up a couple of results, maybe in April or whatever it is, because we didn't do the right thing. And that's the key thing for me. And we've seen this on a number of seasons where we've done some business, but we haven't done enough to really propel us, to give the gaffer everything he needs to compete against the likes of Pep and Arteta and whoever these teams are coming up and stuff like that. And I think that's so important. I don't want to drop another league to either City or potentially to Arsenal because they went out and signed Ivan Toney and got a goal scorer, and Man City went out and fixed up the stupidity of some of the signings that they've done, and they kick on as well. And we're sitting here in January, we've now Mo Salah because he's gone to the AFCON, and we're struggling to find a goal, we're struggling to find an assist, because we know once Mo goes off to the AFCON, we know somewhat of the morale in the dressing room will drop down a notch because we know how important Mo is to the team. So we need to have a proper structured plan for that happening. Now the gaffer's on it. There's no doubt about it. But I think it's so important. So yeah, absolutely. I think if our plan is to really continue with a formation that needs a 6 in there, we need to go out and find a destroyer. We need to do something properly. We need to be serious about this. We're in a really good position at the moment that we never thought we would be in. None of us ever thought that this midfield was just going to click at times the way it's clicked. We never thought that we would find ourselves the first or second week in December that we would be top of the league with the transition that we had to deal with, the players that needed to be replaced, you know. And if you think about it in the summer, this is not even investing in January because we're kicking on and we're top of the league and all that kind of stuff. We haven't finished our rebuild or anything near it. We kind of half went through it. So we still have plenty still to do. And certainly in light of Joel Matip getting injured, probably gone for the season, unfortunate for Joel. But also, you know, Hendo left the building, Fabinho left the building, all these players left. So they needed to be replaced as well. So I think it's really, really, really important. But yeah, spot on, John. You're thinking exactly like me. Bonkers is in right wing cover for Salah, right back Trent in midfield. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a funny feeling that I have a funny feeling in terms of Mo. I don't know whether you guys have felt this either. I think he's going to push. Potentially, I think with Jota being injured as well now, I think he's probably going to push Dominic into the Mo Salah position. And I think Harvey is going to probably slot into midfield. This is assuming that we don't go out and do business. If we're just playing with what we have at the moment and the people that are injured. I think that's what the plan might be. And to me, that's just a little bit concerning in terms of going into pushing on for a title race and stuff like that. I think it's really, really important that we go out and we actually do business and have a plan for Mo. But I have heard talk of Dominic going into Mo's position and potentially Harvey then slotting into midfield. Trent as well. Yeah, what do we want to do in terms of a right back and stuff like that? Is Joe the guy to do that? Potentially. But what happens then if we pick up more injuries and how exposed are we in defence and stuff like that? We're losing now. Joel is gone. So, you know, we're a little bit light there in terms of we've got Jarrell, we've got Kanate, and we've got Joe Gomez. So one of those has to partner Van Dijk. So if Kanate picks up an injury, and he has been picking up a few, does Jarrell go in there full time? Does Joe Gomez have to go in there? Then what do we do at right back? Little bit of surgery to be done there, but certainly we need to be bringing people in. But Bonkers, yeah, you're right as well. We need to really think about the whole Mo Salah situation. That Mo Salah going away to the AFCON could unravel our title race very quickly, and we've seen in this season how quickly you can lose a couple of games and be off the pace. And we have to kind of try and maintain that somewhat and stuff like that. So let's see what happens there. But really, really, really important. Right, folks, that's it. Match reaction, as I said, and Harvey said in the post match, all about the points, not necessarily about the performance. But next weekend, it's going to be about the performance. We're going up against arguably our greatest rivals and the biggest game of our season in Man United. And then the following week, we have Arsenal as well. And I think there's a matter of a Carabao Cup quarter-final against West Ham at the moment, who are looking not great either. So we should be up for that as well. So plenty of games coming up. Union on Thursday. Me thinking that side will be probably unrecognisable if the gaffer's doing his homework. We're home and host, top of the table. No need to be risking anything there. But let's see what happens. As always, really appreciate you guys in the chat. If you can, on the way out, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, follow us as much as you can. We're out there on all the socials. It's the upper tier. The Shankly Sessions is the one you're looking for if you're specifically a Liverpool fan. I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, Monday mashup with Mark. We'll review all the Premier League action. I will be back then on Wednesday, Pro Wrestling Weekly. We'll be talking about all things CM Punk and various things like that and all. Always good. And also on Thursday Tier Talk. And then either Friday or Saturday, we'll be doing a preview. Going to try and get a Man United guy on and we'll do a preview for this game. We put it together, break it down, stuff like that. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes missing. Some people are worried about that in the Man United fan base. I think that's a bonus for them. I think that guy creates more hassle and he does good. Eno's in, great show. Absolutely. Bosch, just light. Can we still call back Nat Phillips? There is talk of that in January and stuff like that. I do like Nat Phillips. I always talk to Nat Phillips. He's like that old school Terry Butcher guy. Remember that time with the headband on him and all when he was laced up with claret and stuff like that and all. But I'm not sure, Bonkers, that's the answer. But let's see. But listen, anyone we can put in there that strengthens the side, gives us numbers, we're going to have a pile of games coming up over the next couple of months. It's going to be absolutely madness through the Christmas period as well. So let's see what happens there. But I've a sneaky feeling that the gaffer has an ace up his sleeve in terms of the January window. So let's see what happens there. Folks, an absolute pleasure bringing you these shows. Thank you for the support. And we'll be back with you again tomorrow night. Cheers, folks. Last one. Niall did the Madison Dart celebration. Can you imagine? Absolutely.